Hello, this is an explainer video on how to clean data. So we have a data set here. You can't edit it. So the first thing you need to do is to make your own copy. So you can just say copy of data journalism and or you can put your name. You can say rough sheets. Okay, so you make your own copy. After making your own copy, you see the data set, which was gotten from the World Bank. So for this lesson, we are going to be cleaning this unclean data and making sure that it's ready for analysis. So if you look at it, it's really, really disjointed. The fonts, the spacing, the sizes, they are not uniform. Some parts are bigger, some are small, and some has the word percent, others don't. Some has the symbol. Some of them have different shadings and all that. So the first thing to do when you come across a data set is to clean it and make it ready for analysis. So to start with that, the first thing is to try to highlight it with Control A or Command A, depending on uh, the type of system you are using. Then you come to Format and click on Clear Formatting. This is the first step. It removes the unnecessary colors, the big fonts, the italicizing, and a host of others. So this is the first step, but it's not all. If you look at this data, it's about GDP growth in selected West African countries. So usually, the rule of the thumb when you're working with data is that you just have the values. So for instance, I should not have this symbol percent here. I should not have this word that says percent. So it's better I just have the indicator, which is GDP had now grow, the years, which is the header row, and I just have the values in their true form, without any affixation, without any unnecessary label. Now, having done that, the next thing we'll do is look for hidden columns. So if you notice this data set, this is 2018, and from 2018 it jumps to 2022. And you notice these two arrow here, which indicates that there are some columns that have been hidden here. So you can just highlight the two columns. Then when you right click, you see unhide columns. So when you click on this, you see all the hidden columns, about three of them, 2019, 2020, and 2021. All of them containing important data sets for whatever analysis or whatever story we want to tell. So you also see that we have a column that is not really necessary here. It's just there, so you can select it, right click and click on delete column, and you can do the same thing with rows. If there are certain rows you do not need, you can just delete them. Maybe this one as well, since we already have a data source in the first sheet. So you just click on delete rows. Now, there are still some problems with the data, like we said, but before we start attending to that, I would like to first separate my header row. This is the header of the data, so I can just make it bold, and it's also good to freeze it, just like row one. So when you freeze it, when you scroll, it doesn't move with it. So it has recognized it as an header row. So the row is just going to be static. That's basically what freezing does. So let's remove all this wording, this percent and all that, and this symbol of percent. So to do that, we'll just use the find and replace option. Okay, so you can start by just pressing Ctrl F, and you can look for the word percent. Now it has highlighted all the places where you have percent. So you can just go to more options. It will show you find, then it will show you replace. So usually the function is that if there's a word you want to replace with something else, you can just use it. But since we are trying to delete it, so we are just going to say percent, and we are not going to add anything in the replace option, and we are going to click replace all. So it has replaced 11 instances across two sheets. Okay, so now we don't have percent on our data anymore, but we still have the symbol. So we'll still use the same function to deal with that. So we just search for the symbol and replace with nothing. So replace all. So it has replaced 23 instances where we have the symbol percent. Okay. Now we need to separate in this country row, for instance. It would be good to separate the country from the country codes. For instance, you have Benin and BN, Burkina Faso and BFA and the likes, or Nigeria, which is NG. We can just create a new column in front of it. This is where we want to pull the country codes to. Then we can select this column, go to data, split text to columns. Now, when you split text to column, it will ask you for a separator. There are a couple of options that um, Google Sheet has already: comma, semicolon, period, space. But this one is a column. This Benin, then BN, Burkina Faso, then BFA. So there's a column there. So we just come to custom and we type column. Now it has separated, it has split all the countries from the country codes. Now we have the country name by the right, followed by the country codes. So yeah, that's okay. We'll just come and give it a title here, country code. Now, the next thing to do is to remove duplicates. If you notice very well, you see that some countries are duplicated. For instance, we have two instances of Nigeria, we have two instances of 2017, Liberia as well, and a host of other countries. So you still select all your data, you come to data, you come to data cleanup, then you come to remove duplicates. So when you click on this, it will look for exact matches and remove all the duplicates that the data has. So you can just select all your columns to check, you can also take the data as header row since we already froze the first row. So you can just click on remove duplicates. Now it has removed all the duplicates. 4 duplicate rows were found and were removed. Then some unique rows still remain. You will notice that there are still some duplicate columns here. So you can just right click and delete the column. So another thing that might not be noticeable are white spaces. These are places where there are text and excessive spaces in between them. A good example is this Burkina Faso. You might not notice, like I said earlier, but the white space between Burkina and Faso is quite large. And you might want to also clean that up, especially in instances where the spaces are extremely large. So you still come to data cleanup and trim white space. So you said it has trimmed white space from 4 selected cells. So if you pay attention, you notice that this has changed a little. So the data is really good now, but I don't still like the fact that there are plenty decimal points. So I just want it to be 2 decimal points. So I'm just going to come here, which is decrease decimal places. This one is to increase it. So if you click this, it will start adding some values. But if you do this, it will reduce it significantly. And now we have about just 2 decimal places for all the data. And so this makes more sense because we're analyzing percentages, and it's really easier to understand. And this indicator name, since the same value true, I don't think we need it. Since we all understand that the data is already about GDP growth, we don't need to list it for each of the countries. So I'm going to delete this column. And yeah, that's it. Your data is cleaned and ready for analysis.